in Podcast Detroit, recording live. Prepare yourself for a hoppy drive. If you're chilling at home, pop that growler and just kick back for the next 2 hours. It's the end of the week, so here's to the weekend. It's Better on Draft with Rob, Matt, Nick, and Ken.
And we are live, episode number 208, Better on Draft podcast. It is going to be a great show. It is the night before the Winter Beer Fest. I am going to be there, leaving tomorrow at 9 a.m. I know Rob is going to be there. We're going to be pouring for Austin Brothers and Grand River. So come over, say hi, be nice to us, yell at us. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be drinking and I'm going to be happy. So, Rob, what's going on? All right, which kid is it this time?
It has been a very long week.
Amen to that, brother.
Having to deal with the foster care system, which, again, as I will always say on this show, fucking blows. And I hate dealing with the system. But it's the system. But nothing with the kids. The kids have been good. They've been pretty much on winter break this whole week.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be real nice to, leave messes around the house that needs to be cleaned up. But we're gonna leave that alone. Leave that alone. Hi, kids. How you doing? But
I mean, were you a little shit when you were younger?
Hell no. Because I didn't have time to be. I didn't have time to be because things needed to be cleaned. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did get my ass whooped. That's that goes without saying. But Mama's house was clean because she kept the house clean, and we had to keep that house clean for her. So yeah, no, it's just wish that the house just looked a little better. That's all.
What are you drinking to drown away that?
So right now I am kind of double fisting. I was headed a sour peach IPA. Who is this from?
Jamex.
This is Jamex. Sour, peachy. I like it.
Oh, I think that's also honey.
I was going to say, it's a sour and you like it.
I know, and I have another sour. I have Idle Hands, a Michigan Tart Cherry Sour that is from the soon-to-be opening tomorrow Ferndale project that has taken over the space over at Axel Brewing, formerly Axel Brewing. The guys in there are doing a pretty nice job in there. The food is looking good. I had the jumbo pretzel before I came in here today.
Okay.
The damn thing was freaking massive. But was really good. And the setup was when you walk in there, it pretty much looks just like you would walk in there as Axel. As they said, it's like, no, it was move-in ready. Everything looks good in there. Mm-hmm. So it's a really good space. I'm glad it's back open. Kudos to Dane, Alex, Gabe, the whole crew that's over there that got that thing up and running. And just really looking forward to see what happens in the future.
Including one of their new brewers. Dom from Cellarman's is over there.
Yes, he is.
So I don't know if
they have, and I got to try it. Was that Thursday? It was Thursday. Which, long story short, girls' dance class got canceled, so I couldn't go there by myself. So I ended up just taking them there just to see what the hell happened. I didn't care. I was like, you guys want to see what a brewery looks like? Just come see what a brewery looks like. And so, a couple of the youngest got to run around in the back and look at all the 10-gallon tons and and everything. So they were having a blast. But they were trying they were making a coffee cider, which tastes very close to Cellarman's. It is really good. I mean, you could just smell the Ethiopian coffee beans just coming off of this stuff. And it's really, really good.
I'm really excited because the last can that I had was in October. I kept some. I definitely, just because I always had people over, didn't want anyone drinking them, so I was hiding them in my girlfriend's refrigerator in the back. Nice. She wasn't a fan, so I knew she wasn't going to drink them. But I had that one, and I think they had like a Mexican coffee cider too. So I definitely had both of those rolling. Wendy, what's going on?
Oh, that's about a week this week and last week.
That's good to hear.
I too have had a little crazy time, but Graham's on the mend, so
That's good. Well, what are you drinking to celebrate?
Today I'm doing a variation on our flagship February, and I've got Lighthearted Ale and the new Holland's Poets Brunch Stout. I'm very excited to try that one.
What have you had so far? You had the Lighthearted, right?
Yep, I had the Lighthearted.
What do you
I'm
think
impressed.
of that?
I'm impressed. I actually think I like it better than Two Hearted.
It's delicious.
I'm not gonna lie.
Don't feel bad.
Are we expecting this to be like a year-round beer, or do you think it's just going to be kind of here for a minute and gone tomorrow?
I think that'll depend on the sales.
Mm-hmm.
If people like it, I think they'll keep it.
I think that's fair.
I hope so.
I saw an article today. I believe it was on some beer website, beer blog, beer news site, whatever you want to call them, talking about how the industry is going light and how light lagers are going to be pretty much the future. And I think it's going to stay because I think everyone in Michigan at least wants that hoppy IPA flavor without necessarily the alcohol that comes with it. Mm-hmm. So people who are also nodding their head and saying, I got two people to the right of me. Why don't we start off with you? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
I'm Dani. I am the co-head of the Detroit chapter of Girls Pint Out. That's what I do.
All right. And next to you?
I am Liz. I am also one of the co-chairs for our Detroit chapter of Girls Pint Out.
So what is Girls Pint Out?
It is a national organization for women who love craft beer and not necessarily are working in the craft beer industry like Liz and I do not, but we love beer a lot.
A lot.
A whole lot. Some would say too much. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, no.
But
But
some would.
Some would.
Some would.
Who cares about that?
So when was it that you started enjoying beer? Legally, of course.
It's two different questions.
I mean, we try and keep, everybody, 21 and over for listening to this. But, I mean, Ken has already explained several times when the first time he was imbibing, so to speak.
What was the question? Start over.
When did you start drinking beer?
When did you
Oh,
start
did you start
drinking and
drinking
well
beer?
drinking
Like,
and
right today.
enjoying?
Yeah, fair enough. Good call. I guess probably. I mean, I drank beer. Like I drank, like Molson. Like that was my beer of choice, right? And there's nothing wrong with Molson. But one day somebody gave me a Two Hearted, and it was like that movie where the eye pupil like expands and then contracts, and it was like, I like beer now.
The world opens
And,
up.
Yeah. And so I think that was it for me. And then after that, you start going to breweries. And in 2007, when this was, it was real old school,
I'm just impressed that you actually know what day. Or like what
I literally
year.
remember the day. It was a
I'm like-
Wednesday. Yes.
Shut up.
I'm not kidding. It
You're
was a
making
date.
that
I was on a
up.
date. It was for real. And he gave me this. And then I wound up at 5 breweries that night because there were 5. And just exploring all of these things and graduated IPAs. And now I can drink almost anything. Almost.
That's what she said.
That's that's 5 breweries is a pretty good task.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
On a date.
Huh?
You did 5 breweries on a date?
She's on a
Wait, you know
first
what?
date.
I'm sorry. It was 3.
3 I'm still 3 breweries on a
Still.
first
On a
date.
first date? That's
Yeah.
impressive.
And then, this is not related to beer, but my date fell into the river that evening.
Whoa.
And it was also
Well,
last
he
date.
went to. I was gonna tried making. I think he just tried a little too hard on that first impression.
he did.
Well, I mean, hey, you
did.
gotta try some beer.
Oh my goodness. So
What about you, Liz?
Yeah.
So I'm a Central girl.
Oh, right, that too. I was
Yeah.
also that,
So
yeah.
my gateway beer was the raspberry wheat at Mountain Town. That was all the rage back 1,000 years ago when I was still in college. So actually, Oberon. Very early on, I had my now husband's best friend. We went to his wedding, and he got a keg of Oberon, and I'm like, "What is this Oberon? What is this?" He's like, "It's a magic elixir. You need to have it." So he runs up to the bar, gets a glass, and he sets it down in front of me. He's like, "Liz, you need to try this." I said, "Okay." I tried it, and it was kind of the same reaction for me. It was one of those, okay, now I get it, you know. So my husband and I have been avid craft beer fans. We actually brewed our own for some time, and then we found out that Detroit area has way too many breweries, and it's easier for us to make somebody else make
I mean,
it for us.
does that really take away from the home brewing? I guess the home brewing feeling of doing that. Because I mean, yeah, there are a lot of breweries that are here.
Yeah.
And I know that at least for myself that there are some things that I want to make because there are other breweries that don't make those.
It. Yeah.
But it is kind of like you said, there's so many breweries that are out here
Yeah.
that it's like, well, why go through the whole process? And does that really just take that away?
Well, so my husband, let me just say, and I love him. If you're listening, I love you. He wasn't very good at it. He
It's hard.
Because
It's hard.
So like he would go in and he had like recipes in hand, and he's like, all right, I think I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this and this. He didn't like do recipes. He just kind of winged it, and every beer that he made was like the same brown or like a variant of. Like we tried to do a bacon beer for opening day for the Tigers. This was, a long time ago.
Please
And
tell
we're
me
like
he
bacon
didn't
beer.
put the bacon in after the boil.
I don't remember when we put it in, but we actually used Bako bits because we were worried about the fat and that. So, it was a breakfast beer. I think we drank like less than 12 bottles because it was just like, it was one of those things you could have one and done, and then we would forget about it. So like, while we love doing the whole process of making beer and things like that, it just ended up to be way too much beer, and we ended up having to throw out half of it, So for us, it's, we've got, Dani and I are so fortunate to be a part of this organization that they ask us to go find new breweries and things like that. There's a brewery literally on every corner, and so to really be able
time to be alive.
It's a wonderful time to be alive and to be a part of this organization, to be able to enjoy that. And we've tried a lot of tasty beers, and we're looking forward to more opportunities.
Speaking of which, if you go to mibeermap.com, you can actually find all of those breweries right on a nice handy Google map,
Very handy.
including all the opening breweries and sadly the ones that have closed since we kind of started the map. So you're able to kind of see what's going on. We also, have some good border breweries too. We're not too far away from Toledo and Chicago. So definitely go check them out, mibeermap.com. I know I haven't homebrewed, and I think this year might be the first year I try it now that I have a house and space and a garage where if something blows up, it's okay.
We have some equipment if you want it.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk afterwards.
Wendy, have you ever brewed before?
I have brewed with other groups.
Where at?
I brewed with the Divas at Rat Fest one year.
Right on.
That was really cool. That was a
What is
awesome
Rat
experience.
Fest?
Yeah.
Rat Fest is a homebrew festival that was out of Corner Brewing.
Over in
So-
Ypsilanti.
They stopped letting us be a part of it though because we're not an actual homebrew club. But
jerks.
I understand. It was a lot of fun. I still go and support because I have a lot of friends that are there.
Yeah.
And then just brewing with other breweries through different organizations. So, but I've never actually homebrewed myself. I'm actually supposed to learn this year. I have a friend, my friend's dad is actually going to teach me. I'm kind of excited.
That's
He was like,
awesome.
So sweet.
we got to tour some breweries in Alaska together, and it was we bonded over beer.
That's
Nice.
cool.
And really, that's the thing about
Yeah.
craft beer is everybody bonds over it.
Yeah.
You know,
You can
that's the
always
best part
meet.
over it.
Yeah.
I
Well-
make friends everywhere I go with beer.
Yeah, and that's honestly how, if you guys are familiar, obviously the three of us here, I don't know if you two are, with the Brews Brothers,
Yep.
who are a more culturally promotional group of beer-loving fans.
For the culture.
For the culture, as they always say.
Sorry, for the culture. That's better.
It is on camera, so.
Yeah, damn right. Shout out to Harry. I actually ran into Wayne at Ferndale Project while I was
cool.
there. So shout out to Mr. Wayne.
Yep, they did a show over at Old Nation last night.
Okay.
So
Nice.
that's definitely a little bit of a hike. But, I met Wayne at 8 Degrees Detroit. I was sitting down by myself drinking a beer, and he was two things next to me, and we just started conversing. And that's kind of how it is. And there's a lot of people, I've definitely got on my soapbox. I've upset some people with this show. I've upset some people, you can, it's hard to tell on the internet, especially to what your tone is when you're typing. And I'm like, hey, there's actually a brewery over on the west side of the state. I won't name them. Who I didn't write a review. I literally posted because they had I think 7 or 8 taps, and one of them was theirs, and the others were guests. And I literally just said that. I didn't say it was bad. I didn't say. I just said only one of their beers. It's this is what I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And this dude lit into me for a wall of text.
I remember that.
And I'm like, hey, I don't want to upset you. I don't. And if you were to do your journalistic integrity, and in my head, I literally said it, journalistic integrity. He doesn't know me very well.
What year is this?
This was 2 years ago, I believe.
No, I mean in general.
A year and a half ago. Yeah. It was before the Summer Beer Fest, and I'm like, hey, if you guys are going to the Summer Beer Fest, or you are, you know what? Let's squash this over a beer. Let's talk. And no response. Ugh, but that's usually my go-to is that if we have problems, we haven't talked in a while. Like I had a friend that him and I didn't talk for 6-7 years, and one day we kind of talked, and we both went through some stuff, and I'm like, let's go meet at Coonan, because we used to go to Coonan all the time. Let's go meet at Coonan. And sure enough, we talked in 3 hours. We only had one beer, but we were there for 3 hours.
Awesome.
Because we were too busy talking to each other. That it was the area, the brewery that brought us together and allowed us to have that type of conversation. You can't go have that conversation at a bar. Like you can't go to Three Nick Scoreboard and have that conversation. You can have good beer, but you can't have what's that?
No, I'm just saying it's like you can't let's go to rallies.
Yeah, you
can't do that.
It's a place, for personal business, I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
What was so? Let's take away from bad guy date. What was the first brewery you went to after that? So it could be one of the 3 you went to for the second time, but
Yeah, that's a super good question.
I mean, you remember the date? You
Right?
remember how
I really do. I
the
remember
weather?
what I wore, dude. It was so cute. It's not important. It's really cute. Anyway,
I remember what I wore that day too. It was a polo.
Yeah, it's good. It's good polo. So that night it was Coonan, Dragonmead, and
Baraboo
no,
would be my. Oh no, Atwater.
no.
We're playing Guess That Brewery.
We stayed local, and honestly,
Dragonmead.
Oh, she said Dragonmead and
I
Coonan.
swear there was one other place that we went.
Lab? Did you come back out here?
What's the one in Southfield
It was
that
all Mount
passed
Clemens
away?
that night.
Copper
You know what I mean?
Canyon.
Copper Canyon
Canyon?
in
Copper
Southfield.
Canyon,
That was Southfield.
you can't. Can you see that?
It's still for sale.
Yeah.
It's still for sale.
Oh yes, it is still for
Oh
sale.
my goodness gracious!
It's
Yeah,
still
that's a
when
long
you
time ago.
drive by it. It's still the building looks
Yeah,
exactly the same.
exactly the
The
same.
tanks are still there. Nothing has changed.
I thought they sold.
like-
It's been a while since I've driven by it, but I thought they sold the tanks.
I still-
thought because they were trying to sell it as a whole and then realized they
Oh.
couldn't, so they tried.
Yeah.
It was such an awful spot.
I think the spot's
Yeah.
so bad that I'm not sure if they can figure out how to get the tanks out of there.
No.
Well, that's what happened to the brewery over above the AMC Southfield, because there's a brewery where that Asian restaurant is that's gone, but they literally put in the brewery tanks and then
Built around
built
it.
around
Around
it,
it,
like put the
yeah.
bricks around it.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to get those brewery
Like,
tanks out.
This will
Yeah.
never go away.
Just better melt them.
Yeah.
Just
Melt them
Just melt
and
them
start
down.
over.
Hey, recycle.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I was gonna say if it's not Baraboo, I mean Sherwood, because
Yeah.
you said the Clem.
No. Maybe it was Sherwood.
There's no brewery in the Clem.
I'll
And,
call him. I'll ask him.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not gonna do
Please
not gonna do
tell
that.
me.
So it was probably Dragonmead that I went to after that, because it was so long ago, and it was like when Coonan and Dragonmead in 2007 were just like little babies, and there was just like the bar with like 6 chairs. And I remember being at Dragonmead. It was our first one, and I left my date, who will remain unnamed throughout this entire show.
We'll call him Sean. Not his real name.
No.
Or it'd be a really good guess.
It would be hilarious if that was true. But I went to the restroom, and where it was, or maybe where it is, I haven't been there in a while, is down that hallway, and then there was the garage back there. So I was just kind of looking at it, and this dude poked his head out the door and was like, "Hey, you want to see us make some beer?" And I was like, "Sure, I got nothing to do."
Oh my goodness.
An hour later, I came back to the bar,
Reappear.
and this poor guy was like, "You're still here." I was like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I learned a lot. Can we go?" And so, yeah, I think after that, I went back to Dragonmead, I think, with my dad. My dad's a huge craft beer fan. a small brewery. He likes to make wine. They grow grapes and stuff like that. But took him there, blew his mind.
I was saying that's the last time you went on a date from OkCupid.
Oh no, it
This was before that, baby.
it was Mount Clemens. It was
MySpace?
Oh.
it was just no, it was
what?
just getting kicked out of one bar. They got kicked out of another bar. 2 groups met in the street, and one resulted in a date.
Which then just resulted in your love for craft beer.
Ended in the river. Yes.
Yeah, and him in the river.
Yes.
What about you, Liz?
Yeah.
Oh man. So let's see here. I'm trying to do all the math here. I don't really even remember. Like I had my big aha moment with Oberon, and
It's
funny so I've been working at Beaumont for quite some time.
Royal Oak or Troy?
Royal Oak.
Okay.
Did my internship there and so on and so forth. So I had some friends that lived in Ferndale, and the WAB actually in its awesomeness at that point, one of the OGs at that point. I remember doing a lot of happy hours and things like that.
They still have nice happy hours.
Yeah, they
over
still
there.
do have a nice happy hour. Royal Oak Brewery, things like that. I remember going to Motor City for the first time. Motor City Brewing Works downtown. Another OG.
Great pizza.
Great pizza.
Great pizza.
Ghetto Blaster was just kind of the.
Yeah, there was an episode where
Yeah.
they didn't bring us beer, but they brought us pizza, and we were just as happy.
That is
fine.
okay.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Perfectly fine.
So really, like my first real routine trips to a brewery have always been, those big 3, and then.
What about you, Rob? Was it like E&B or?
Wow.
Was that a burn?
Wow.
That was a burn.
Do you want a little aloe for that burn?
He
That was
likes
sick.
he likes to go after the gray hairs, and back,
Can't have gray hairs when you have no hairs.
yeah, exactly.
He makes a good point.
And tend to go back to my days when Prohibition was still going on.
He was part of the Purple Gang.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
I mean, for me, probably like the first. It was really just that first craft beer I had was it was Dragon Stout, which at the time I was just kind of, when I was younger, I was just like completely straight and narrow. I was the one who was always a designated driver, taking my friends over to Canada and just letting them drink and have fun, because I thought it was more fun to watch them get drunk and act like dumbasses than actually get drunk with them.
It is.
So it's a lot of fun, and you remember everything, so you get to tell them everything that they did. Right. So when I actually got of age, then my first beer was a Molson Ice. Because I was so used to seeing my stepdad drink Molson Ice, I was like, you know what, I'll try Molson Ice. And I said it, and I was just like, this is what I fucking waited for? What the hell is this?
That's rough, man.
And then I told my brother, he's like, nah, dude, you're doing this shit all wrong. So then he went to the fridge, and he broke out with this Dragon Stout, and I was just completely blown away, and was just like, this, I mean, I kind of like it, but this is probably what beer's supposed to taste like. This is a hell of a lot better.
So for those of you who might be a little bit confused, Dragon Stout is a Jamaican beer. So it's not like a Dragon Milk mistake or a Dragon Mead beer. This is an actual beer.
It's too early to make that mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Wendy?
Oh.
I mean, we were going in a circle. So.
Yeah, I mean,
I knew it was gonna happen.
finish the circle
So,
up here.
I honestly can't remember what the first craft beer I had that I thought was amazing. I do know that I always say Killian's was my gateway beer.
Okay.
That's me.
Because it
That's
was the
fair.
one that made me realize that beer doesn't have to taste awful.
Yeah.
Killian's was good.
And I drank that for a lot of years, but I was actually volunteering with the JCs at a World Expo of Beer. And I was pouring for Wolverine Brewing. It was before they had the tap room. The only beer that they had on tap at that particular that web was the light lager. They had billed themselves as the Bud Light of Webb. And there was like 4 of us
Did it
pouring
work?
out of one keg. And I'm like, this is really boring. How long is this shift?
Oh my goodness.
And Kunin's was 2 doors down, and they just had a line out the door. And Senior came over and was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm waiting for my turn to pour. He's like, we need your help over here. So he brought me over to Kunin's, and he's like, you got to try everything before you start
Obviously.
sampling it because you
Yeah.
got to be able to tell them what they're
Yeah.
drinking.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look and there's like 13 beers,
Oh God.
like 4 meads. I'm like,
That's
that's
an
a lot
assignment right
of.
there.
I'm like,
yeah.
that's a lot of stuff. He's like, good drinking. We got a line.
Oh goodness.
I wish somebody would say that to me.
Yeah.
Ever.
So I attribute my love of craft beer to Senior over at
That's
Coon's.
awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely started when I was working at Laser Quest.
Oh my goodness.
The post work drink was always Killian's.
Okay.
My friend would always drink it. Like it would be Killian's and a cigar. So that would be like the
that's-
entire every night.
Wow.
Every night we'd go to his
wow.
place over in Clawson. We'd smoke a cigar, drink some Killian's, play games until like 4 or 5 in the morning because
Yeah,
our
that's-
shifts don't start till 6 p.m. So
Yeah.
do that and then kind of like rinse and repeat. So it wasn't. So once I finally turned 21,
Wait a minute. Why did we have to say
I
when
know.
we hit 21?
well, I mean,
he's
when,
the host of the show.
Yeah, you
Right.
can say whatever.
when
I changed it.
when I was 21, I was doing the exact same thing.
Oh, okay.
Killian's and a
All right.
cigar, still working for Laser Quest.
There we go.
But my first brewery I'll always remember is Black Lotus.
Oh, yeah. Black
Because we were in
Lotus.
Madison Heights, so it was the closest to Laser Quest and where my
Yeah.
buddy
Sure,
works,
for
so it was
sure.
easy to go over to 14 in Maine.
Absolutely.
But I remember falling in love with Dragon Mead so much.
Oh, yeah.
And getting so excited. And Matt would remember the name, but I can't think of it. It's off of John R. in Auburn. It's some sports bar. And I remember they used to do growlers of Final Absolution to go. And I mean, this is 2007, 2008. So
Yeah.
this is before like beer bars.
Yeah,
Like they had Final Absolution and like Guinness, and then like
Yeah.
everything else was crafty or Bud Light, Miller Lite, Labatt. Yeah, that's definitely. I remember that night because I remember the night that Matt Stafford got drafted. And I remember doing a full growler of Final Absolution and a 4-pack of Kunin's Fourth Dementia.
Did you die?
I know. But did you die?
Like I'm drunk just thinking about that.
actually.
That volume there.
That was a good 8-hour drinking day. So
Okay.
it was a little bit, but by the time I passed out and woke up at 3 in the morning, my friends were still up. It was the repeat of Saturday Night Live, and I thought it was just Saturday Night Live. And so I'm like, oh, it's only between 11:30 and 1. No, it's like 3:30 and 4. And
yeah.
why are you guys up watching probably what you watched back at 11:30?
Right.
They couldn't
I've done that on opening day before. Came
Oh,
home from being an
Yep.
opening day and we
Watch-
watched the
watch
game,
the game.
drinking more beer,
Yep.
and then fell asleep and woke up and it was the replay.
Yeah, no,
The second replay.
I think everybody's
my.
done that at least once, and anybody that hasn't is lying. Okay, lying.
yeah, definitely didn't do that in October. So talk to us. What is the objective of Girls Pint Out?
Other than drink beer,
Well, yeah. Well, the objective is to bring women together. So we're in our 30s, and it is
Ish.
harder-ish. It gets harder to meet people. It gets harder to make friends. It gets harder to make women friends. For women, it's just hard because, first of all, right, going out sucks. Yeah?
Okay.
Everybody's staring at me.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Right, it does. It does.
I mean,
Everybody just got tired. They were like, yeah, I'm over it.
yeah.
But it's hard. You're tired. You worked 9 hours and you probably did a load of laundry and then you had to wash dishes or feed your dog or whatever. And now you have to go out. Go out. But I'm not selling it. But what we are aiming to do, what GPO
I was
aims
gonna say,
to do.
tap me in whatever you want to here.
I think-
I'm just gonna let you
I think-
run this one out for a hot
think you're
minute.
good.
Yeah. just-
What GPO aims to do is to give women please.
Okay.
I could do it, but I'm tired.
Really? Okay.
She worked 9 hours. She did a load of
Yeah,
laundry and
yeah.
fed the dog.
Yeah. Actually, she doesn't have a dog. Just cats. Lame.
Lots of cats.
Nothing
Lots
wrong
of
with
cats.
that. I've got cats.
So really, I mean, and Dani brought me in about a month after we took over the reins of this particular chapter. And, it really has come down to, and what I'll build on what she said, is that it's really just an opportunity for girls to get together. It's a
Yes.
safe space. We've had, and I know I tell this to everybody, but it was a very, shining moment, at least. Like, I get it now. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Is we had an event at one of our local breweries, so we do a meetup every month. And we had a couple girls come in, and they're kind of a little sheepish and not really sure what's going on. They're, you know, kind of, is this where we come? And, yeah, no, come on. And of course, you know, Dani and I are like, come on, you know, hang out with us. Here, have a beer. Here's some swag and stuff like that. We're a little aggressive, probably
Very
looking
excited.
back at it, but. You know, and they sat down and they all got a beer and we started talking. The beer was flowing. Everybody was drinking, having a good time and stuff like that. And both of these girls, they came separately, said, we were so nervous about coming in here. You know, we sat in the parking lot like, oh man, is this going to be worth it to me? You know, their anxiety was really taking over instead of, you know, really stepping out of the box. And they were so glad that they did it. And actually, both of them have become one of our regular. Yeah. They're jumping on all of our communications, liking, you know, following us. They show up. We've got one member that comes out from Flat Rock or something. To Detroit.
She just comes
crazy.
up.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
So you know, it's easy for us and to, you know, be super outgoing and active and things like that in these situations because we're the ones planning it.
Right.
But I can certainly understand, and I know that we've all been there where it's like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is a really bad idea. Like, your anxiety takes over and stuff like that. So it's really been a safe space for a lot of women to come in and enjoy each other's company, meet new people. You know, we've got a couple of girls that they have kids, they have work. Yeah. Leave the kid with the hubby or, you know, partner or whatever,
dog.
and dog. And to come out for a couple hours to have an adult conversation with other women that are like-minded,
and maybe go to a place you haven't been before. Yeah, and maybe try something that you've wanted to try, and just be here with us. Meet these people. Maybe you never come back, and maybe you do. Maybe you tell your friends and they come and you don't come. It doesn't matter. Just you got out. You did this thing with these people who are like you, and it's the safe place.
Yep.
So how do you become a member?
Just show up, baby. Just show up.
Yeah.
So like I said, we do meetups every month. So we actually just had our Galentine's events over at Urban Rust.
It was amazing.
Last week.
Yes.
I think we had close to 50 people.
We had at one point 50 people. Yeah, for sure.
It was crazy.
It was
People
insane.
brought their friends, and they brought their friends, and
I have
things
a
like
couple
that.
of friends who were there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. Okay. Great.
And so it was a really super exciting thing for us because we
was
always
so much
walk
fun.
in like nobody's gonna show up. It's gonna be
There's
terrible.
always that dread. Always that dread. And you never can predict because at our first one in April of last year we had like 10 or 11 people.
And my sister and I were like 2 of the 10.
Yes, which was great. But then at the next one we had 4. And then at the next one,
I think we had 15 or 20
something like
or
that.
something.
And it builds. Oh no, the next one we had 4 again. And then the next one we had 15 or 20. And then in September we had about 15 or 20. And then it's just, you never can tell. And it's okay. That's fine. Like, you don't have to come.
How
don't
big
have to
anxiety
stay.
do you get when you see the Facebook maybe or interested now? It's the Facebook interested in the event.
So we have like event sweats. Like, we're
my
usually
God.
texting each other
So
back
much
and
event
forth.
sweats.
Like a couple days before, like we get really super stoked. She's sweating
hot.
just thinking about it.
It's not cool.
So it's you hope that everybody comes that's invited. That's kind of part of our selling point is that we partner with the brewery that we work with. They're co-hosts. We operate most of these events out of Facebook. So so they're a co-host. We've had breweries that have actually brought in food trucks knowing that we're going to be there, or at least as part of the promo and things like that.
They give like X% off pours for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and so we get the nervous sweats about the day
yeah.
before. She's texting me like I'm freaking out, and
I was getting the nervous event sweats when I kept looking at the event for Galentine's Day, and it was like 8 people have RSVP'd, 12 people have RSVP'd, 19, 28, 43, and I was like, we can't do this. What are we gonna do? We don't have tables. There's not enough tables.
And that's
like it was just panic. And it all worked out.
And it all worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of people that are interested.
Yeah.
They want to keep an eye on it. I mean, I know I'm guilty of, hey, I'm interested because if I don't have anything else going on, I'll go to that. So we've had events. I think our Galentine's, we had like 200 people interested.
Oh, it was
and we
nuts.
had like 50 people like saying that they're going.
Yeah.
So a little panic. But we just kind of take it as it comes at us and deal with it from there. So.
It's all great, and you should come.
Yes, you should.
You're welcome.
What my curiosity, because obviously the big thing is promoting beer. I love
Yes,
beer.
yes.
I love drinking beer. I love sharing beer, especially if you come to like my house. Like I always have like the 2 or 3 beers that are put away that nobody can touch. Like
Oh,
right
yeah, of
now,
course.
I've got like a bottle of 120 that's earmarked for Ed, who's one of our writers. So I'm like, that's the only beer you can't have. You can have anything else
Fair
but
enough.
that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What do you think is the barrier of getting women out to try craft beer to just get out there? Is it because it's, pretty much a male-dominated industry in regards to the voices of beer, whether it's beer bloggers, beer podcasters, beer brewers? Like, what do you think is something that we can work on as men, as well as we can try to get to be more inviting?
Put a face on it. I mean, I have a lot of I manage the GPO Detroit Instagram, and I make a point to follow women in beer. So, a lot of it, it's really encouraging to see women stirring, women designing the recipes, picking out how the place is going to look, making the place comfortable for the kind of people that they want to come in, right? Which are women.
Well, it's not. There's no
it's
exact
really,
answer.
yeah. I mean, so I mean, being a woman and being a craft beer enthusiast, and I think this is a lot of why we do what we do is that, sometimes I've had this experience, maybe not so much now because I walk in, I'm like, I already know what I'm talking about, and I actually scare guys with how much I know, not only about beer, but I'm a big sports fan and things like that. So anytime that you come in and they're not expecting somebody that looks like you to have that knowledge base, it scares people, and it's kind of like, well, am I the weirdo or something like that? But I think it's really just changing the conversation. It really what it comes down to is that it's there's women coming into the beer industry and taking over all facets of it, and we're not just the token girl because you have to have it because people are gonna wag their finger at you. There's women that this is what they love. They want to share that passion with other people, and it just our organization just gives a little bit more of a spotlight with that.
It gives you a place to go where you know that you're going to be able to see people that are like you and want to do what you do and learn what you can possibly learn about beer in the industry.
Yep.
And you can have a conversation without being mansplained.
Exactly.
That's a lot of it. Finally, sometimes,
Well, what I think you're trying to say, no.
Oh, man.
It really has
Here,
gotten better.
I have beer.
It's,
Let's talk it over a beer.
it's gotten so much better in the last 15-ish years. I remember going to places and, after 2007 when I started going to breweries and asking, tell me what I would like. I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I'm 35. I know what I like. Give me this. Yes, I know what the hops are. I know I don't like these. I know I do like these, so I don't want that. Please don't give me that. Just give me this. It's liberating to know what you like, and it has changed. You don't get the eye roll so much anymore when you ask, how does all of this work? It's really just people are excited about it now.
And you shouldn't get the eye rolls anyway because there are no more than enough guys who do the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Oh, what you do.
Yeah, no.
It's
So,
really
I mean, like,
frustrating.
so, I mean, what are your thoughts, Wendy?
Or
I mean,
you go into, there's been so many times where I've gone into even a brewery with a guy who does not have the same experience with beer that I do, and they will talk down to me and then
talk to him.
and he's like, she's going to give me the
Right.
He's like, she's gonna pick my beer out because she knows what I'm gonna want to like,
And
or what
they
I'm
look
going
at
to like.
and they look at the dude when they're answering all of your questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exhausting.
It's-
Exhausting.
Yeah.
How is it still happening? It's getting better, but how is it still happening?
It is getting better.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
It is, yeah. Still
Why is everyone looking at me? You guys are having a good conversation.
I'm just agreeing because I mean it's just basically it that does need to change. I mean it's all across the board, whether just be women or in some cases just simply color of my skin.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
even just walking into a brewery and it's just like, wow, I'm like the only black person in here.
Well,
Yeah.
you've talked about it after festivals.
Oh, believe me, tomorrow I'm counting how
Counting.
many black people are going to be there because I need to know
Please
where my
count.
allies are.
Please count.
And I need to know where my exits are just in case some shit goes down. Because you got to be prepared.
That's good. I wanted to ask what the policy was on cursing, so now I know.
Yeah.
Oh, you
It's
can
encouraged.
It's
encouraged.
encouraged.
Oh.
Sweet.
you can fucking
super.
swear if you want to.
Yes. All right. Because I use that as like a noun and a pronoun.
I was about to say I thought that was like my second word.
It might have been.
It might-
Before
Nice.
we take a break, the other question I want to ask, because obviously I think it's something that also needs to bring attention, because you're talking about the eye rolls, and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of prejudices about when you go up to someone and you say, "What will I like?" or "What do you think I'll like?" Because what is everyone going to pick? And playing to prejudice and playing to what exists, it's going to be something fruity, something light,
Exactly.
something sweet.
A girl beer.
A girl
girl
beer.
beer.
Not fair.
And that's I just don't think that exists
It
because
doesn't.
well, it exists
Well,
in some people's
Yeah,
eyes.
it does.
I say because they make it.
I stopped asking people what do you think I'll like. I started asking them what do you like,
Yes. that
because
is
then they'll
much
give me an
fairer
honest
question.
answer
Yeah.
about what the beer actually tastes like, and then I can make my own judgment.
Well, I think
Yeah.
there's two different conversations. When I go up and I say, what do you think I'll like, or something like that, they'll ask me, what kind of styles do you like?
Exactly.
With you, they'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, well, we
Automatically.
have this sour and this
Yep.
shandy and
Yep.
this. I think there's a conversation that needs to be had there where a lot of people just need to eliminate the prejudices, because
Absolutely.
there was a point in time where that was the standard, where not playing into a stereotype, but most women drank your shandies,
Sweeter.
your Leinenkugels,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
those beers. Most, not all, but most. But as craft beer has grown and people have started to go to breweries and craft breweries, and they're like, well, fuck, I want to try something. It was just like me. I was drinking Killian's. That's all I was drinking. And now I'm like, oh, well, I want to try something else.
Well, what's our motto? All beer
is girl beer. It's
Yeah.
on the back of my sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I mean, and
All
All beer is
all beer is girl beer. Ugh. Oh my goodness, I can't even get my tagline right. Girl. All right.
All
but
beer
all-
is girl beer.
beautiful.
We need to. You know
Can
what?
you-
I'm going to take a little snippet of that.
Snippet.
Well, we will mark the time. We'll be right back. Better on Draft Podcast.
I'm headed for the city, trouble in my mind. I'm way too young and pretty for things to be unkind. Time is all we have now, so let's make something while we can. I'm headed for the city to make me start again. Conversation now and then. Gotta go, gotta get it. Don't make things go south, baby. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh. I'm headed for the city. See what I can unwind. Always gotta start it to dictate, make it in this life. Time is all we have now, so let's make something while we can. I'm headed for the city to make me start again. Conversation now and then. Gotta go, gotta get it. Don't make things go south, baby. Oh, 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 yeah.
Test. And we are back. Better on Draft podcast number 208. Still in studio with us, we have Liz and Dani as we are continuing to go through all of the beer we had. I definitely had that Ferndale project.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
We kind of left. We were talking about, prejudice in the industry. And I kind of want to take a little bit of a right turn over here. And with always segment number 2.
Here is Robert with the beer news. And now time for the news with Robert. How y'all doing?
All right.
That's why they say he's got a face for radio.
That's right. I do. Although, like I said, with Wayne telling me that I have the golden voice for me doing trivia.
You freaking do, man.
Yeah.
And again, if you're listening to this on the way, we're going to be pouring for Austin Brothers and Grand River. Come find us over at the Western Michigan Brewers Guild Festival over at Comstock Park. We will be having a lot of fun, that is for sure, and staying warm.
Yeah,
And
you guys have a beautiful weekend. I think it's supposed to be like 40-something degrees.
It's-
out there?
I saw something in like the high 30s, low 40s.
Which for that
but
festival, that's like summer.
as long as we don't get like lake effect, like wind or anything like that, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But there was a year now. Before we go into the news, Matt over at Michigan Beer Box
Oh, his post.
posted about
That was a damn good post.
bringing layers and extra layers and stuff. And
Oh,
I felt
I saw this post.
I felt a little triggered because a few years ago, we're all driving. It's a Friday. We get there, and I'm the one driving. No, I wasn't driving. Matt was driving. And we get there, and I realized I left my coat.
Good Lord.
So
That was the one that it rained.
we walked in, and I'm like, I don't have a coat. I'm in short sleeves. What is going on? So we get in. I beeline for the merch tent,
Yup.
buy a hoodie, and I'm like, this is as good as it's gonna get tonight. And I remember I drank a lot that night because I remember being drunk
Antifreeze, baby.
on the way
Antifreeze.
back.
Yup.
And I remember like staying warm just by drinking like barrel aged beers. Because I'm like, well, normally I'm as Rob mentioned, like he was the driver in Canada. Like I was the driver in Canada, watching my friends do like back to back shots of Jaeger.
I was not.
Me neither.
Well,
Nope.
so when he like I'm always the driver, so I'm always the one being responsible. When we went to No Rules Day, I was the driver. Most festivals, I'm the driver, so I typically have my pours. Even like I'll always ask, especially if it's a high ABV beer that I want, I'd be like little pour, and I get so upset when people don't listen to me.
Because they think for sure you're kidding.
Because I'm like, I just want a half pour of your quad or a half pour of this.
So many damn beers. You can't drink 4 ounces of everything.
So I'm
Yeah.
just like, I just
for
want a little pour of this
a-
because I want to try it. I want to
Just a
drink
tasty
it.
poo, yeah.
Yeah. And then they bring that happened at Jade and James because I love Jade and James Monkey Butter, their peanut butter stout. And sure enough, they're like, oh, you got to try the Russian Imperial. I'm like, just a half. Just a half. And he poured a full, not like a full to the line, full to the top. And I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Bro.
That's a
yeah.
hard
I'm
beer.
trying to get you messed up.
Don't, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But definitely bring the layers, just in case. You never know what it's going to be like. Even though it's Michigan, it says 40. It may say 50. It may not feel the same.
Speaking of beer, someone should pass me another growler. Please and thank you.
Try this one.
And also, do not forget there are still those $5 non-drinking designated driver's tickets for those who are driving your friends who are going to be getting drunk at the beer fest. And again, those are for your friends to drive you home. Those are not tickets that guarantee a driver for you
Hotels-
as provided
Is that
by
what
the beer
people think?
fest.
Some people have.
Some people have. So
goodness
it seems like it's something that we have to continually mention that that does not give you a driver to drive you home.
Hotels close by are only $80 too. So.
What if it did?
Yeah.
bad.
And I'm not talking like Joe's random motel. I'm talking like a Baymont Inn and Suites, like a standard.
The lodging out that side of the state is lovely.
Oh, I've definitely stayed in some shady ass places in my
Well,
job.
I stayed in
So-
a place called the Shack on the west side of the state.
What? Oh.
Yeah, it was near some place called
I got
Jug
bed bugs
City.
just thinking about
Did you say
that.
Jug City?
I swear to God, it was called Jug City. Jugtown?
That-
Jug City? I don't know.
I-
It was near Cloud.
Jug Lake?
Is there a place called Cloud? White Cloud? I'm vaguely
There's
remembering
a
this.
I mean, there's White Cloud, Michigan.
Yeah,
it looks
it was
like
there. It was there.
there's a jail over there.
Well, there's also a place called the Shack, and it's run by very, very religious people who make you turn off your lights and be quiet at 10 p.m. And if you come in after 10, which of course we did, you have to be very, very quiet. And you have to use a side entrance, and you can't turn on your phone light to get you up the side entrance, which is pitch dark. And it was awesome.
I'm looking it up right now. White Cloud. I've definitely zoomed out a little bit, and I still haven't recognized any place.
Nope, you won't. And you won't.
So we're going a little more. So it's in the middle of the Huron-Manistee National Forests.
Sure, sounds right.
I don't
Very
have.
dark. Lots of deer.
There we go. Jesus. So this is how I felt. This is how I felt when I went to Niles. It's basically
It's like that.
it's off of 131 between 131 and the lake. It's a little bit north of Nuevo. Nuevo's probably the closest
Nuevo,
area that
yes.
you were. That has people.
People, yeah.
But yeah, White Cloud is off of 37, and
Yeah,
that's
okay.
definitely in the middle of nowhere.
Is there a Jug City?
I didn't see.
Jugville.
Okay, all of them.
I don't know. I don't know
little
why.
weird.
I don't know why this is important or not.
sorry.
But is there 1 or 2 G's?
Hold on, I did find the shack though. It's actually
I'm really
the
curious.
shack was the only thing that populated, along with
yeah.
Johnny's Motel. The shack, a
That's
lakeside log lodge and country inn.
It's beautiful.
All right, time to play over and under. How many stars do you think it has on Google?
Well, she's
500
stayed there. I don't think you get to guess.
567. Oh, that's the only one I want to guess. Is this one?
Okay, I want to say 3.
4.7.
That is
Wait a
wildly
minute. What was the
specific.
average age of the people that were?
Oh, I
rating
don't think
that
that Google. I mean, it's Google, so it's probably a bunch of Karens in their 40s.
Oh, I
mean,
do remember there being a lot of Mennonites. Is that a thing out there?
No, but I did see. I took the side roads down. I was in Munster, Indiana, and I took the side roads to go to a friend's restaurant, and I saw a lot of Mennonites. I also saw a McDonald's and a castle.
Oh my
Where?
goodness.
I will show you guys during the break, so we're
Oh
not
my
looking
goodness.
through. But Rob, the news.
I was going to
All
say
right.
this
Please,
is quite
I'm
a
sorry.
tangent we went on here.
derailed.
Sorry, buddy.
That happens. That's
have
fine.
derailed.
But Michigan has come one step closer to reaching a new self-distribution deal for breweries. As we mentioned not too long ago, House Bill 5343 is going to allow microbreweries to self-distribute up to 2,000 barrels of beer to a retailer or wholesaler annually, and any on-premise sales will not count towards that 2,000 barrel limit. It is also going to give more flexibility to beer festivals conducting licensed events, clarify some regulations surrounding the manufacturer and wholesale relationship, and hopefully reduce the frequency of when beer and wine taxes are paid from monthly to quarterly. Now the vote
Before you go, what did you pour me from Jam? This is Cadillac Straits.
It's kind of straight.
So it's their New England IPA Cumulus.
That makes sense.
Yep.
What's it called?
The Cumulus.
Cumulus.
You can. I was like, why am I not liking this? But it's
It's a New
it's
England
an IPA.
I'm
so-
sorry. I should have probably.
Hey,
I tried to.
He still tries it.
I
You
try
have a
beer.
lot
He tries
in
beer.
this.
Okay.
Oh, I can drink this.
I mean, I never expected him to actually like this. This is the sour peach
So
IPA.
I will say I'm going to do a shameless little plug here for GPO because
Real quick.
That's
because
the
what
whole
we're here
show
for.
is a
That's why
shameless
you're
plug.
Right.
All right, but I will say this girl right here got me into IPAs.
I did that.
This was not something that I personally liked. I was definitely, we were talking about cliche female, hey, it's always the sweet beers and things like that. I was like, the IPAs, like Two Hearted scares the crap out of me still. But the New Englands have been a very nice, easy
good for the hot
transition. Something that's kind of
I hate IPAs. I love sweet and
That's
sugary
yeah.
beers.
Well, but I mean, everybody. I think everybody loves sugary beers and things like that. But this girl right here got me into the IPAs.
I freaking love IPAs. I love to have my throat burned out.
Yeah,
by
no.
Yeah.
Why?
See,
It's the
I don't
same-
understand that.
It's the same reason why I don't understand why people
don't
like
get that.
spicy food. No.
Oh, I don't like spicy food.
she likes IPAs but doesn't like
too.
spicy food. She watches me eat dinner and I throw hot sauce on my stuff. And she's
Hard
like,
pass.
no, hard pass.
All right,
All
Rob.
right, anyway,
Tell us
sorry.
the
All right.
news for the
And
love
we're
of God.
back.
Again, and we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Back with the news. So the votes, as actually according to the House's website, it was 100 for, 4 against, 5 not voting. Which I'm curious who the 4 were
I
that
was
were
going to
against
say, I'm
this.
sure there's a joke with
There-
this, but I'm going to leave it alone.
But it's as obviously this is going to now move to the Senate, and then the Senate is going to put their vote towards it, which it kind of seems based on the House vote that it's going to pass.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking is, while this is moving forward, it's great that we're making the move and we're finally kind of making a baby step out of this archaic
Yes.
self-distribution limit that's there. But it still leaves Michigan as one of the lowest, if the lowest, self-distribution limited state in the country that allows breweries to sell their beer on and off premise. At this point, once that gets passed, is this a point where breweries should just say, all right, well, we got our 2,000, we're good? Or should they just basically just say, all right, yeah, we got a 2,000, now let's make it 5,000? Because I think from what I've read was that the main distributors didn't fight it because they saw that, well, 2,000's, that's not going to put a dent in our business.
Yeah,
We're
it's
just not going to touch us.
peanuts, yeah.
But when it starts to get to 5,000, 10,000, or like Ohio's like what, 30,000? Or
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, once we start to actually get to a number where distributors start to say, "Wait, no, you're taking away from our money." I mean, should the breweries?
You know what that number is going to be? Is when someone like M4 or Oath has a problem with it. When M4 or Oath, who are the ones that are distributing these small 1,000 to 5,000 barrel breweries, because Fabiano Brothers ain't picking them up. Powers ain't. Or if they are, they're doing jack shit with them. Look at what Liberty Shit was talking to us about. Like, they had to get out of distro because they weren't selling. And they weren't selling because the people, they didn't have a sales force. And because you don't have a sales force and you don't have people advocating for you, you're shit out of luck.
Really, for Liberty Street, it's a good thing they were able to get out because it's like those contracts are lifetime.
Yeah.
They are.
And-
They had to sign a non-disclosure, or non-compete, not
Non-compete.
non-disclosure,
Non-compete, yeah.
non-compete. So they can't distro anymore.
Right.
And I don't think they want to distro anymore. I think they're happy being that downtown Plymouth brewery bar. But in the same sense, like you can't. They'd almost be better off getting a brew pub license. And trying to transfer over their brewery to a brew pub license, allow for bringing in alcohol, and changing it up a little bit. But, there's only so much that you can do under that 2,000. There's not that many breweries it affects. And the ones that do need distro. And if they don't need distro, then they're doing gangbusters. But over 2,000 without in-site sales is not going to affect.
And that's actually would be something that I'd be interested to see. And is it really going to have that much of an impact, especially for them to have to put so much of their sales, get a sales force? I mean, how many
Right.
of these breweries have a sales force?
I
I mean, some of the breweries that I've talked to, their entire advertising budget is the beer festivals. And then whatever they can get out of their brewery, with sales of their merch and things
Word
like
of
that,
mouth stuff, yeah.
and word of mouth, and a lot of them rely on Facebook, Twitter, online presence.
I'm curious
Are they
if
going
we're-
to be able to manage it?
I'm curious if we're going to get a numbers output this year because Rex Halfpenny's Michigan Beer Guide is no longer, and that's where everyone got their yearly numbers was from the. And so obviously those numbers exist, but where is the question?
Yeah.
Where do those
they're
numbers
somewhere,
exist?
right.
And how do we get them?
And are those companies robust enough to be able to do that? I mean,
We had Barrel and Beam on for the Fall Beer
Fall
Fest
Beer
because they
Fest,
were
yeah.
in town and they were talking about their sales force was them and their distribution was them and
Yep.
they are far away in the UP.
yeah.
I can only imagine what they can do. I think, it looks like it's bipartisan. It looks like it's going to pass and there's no issues as it moves to the Senate. I think if it moves to the Senate and it has some issues, that's going to be a huge fight to go against because 104 and 5, I think you said.
yeah.
And the most recent one, because there was another bill that just got passed, which was 107 and 1 for the tokens.
For the token.
Getting rid of tokens within the festivals. And the one guy who voted against it, some Baptist priest, I think, or something like that. Like, it's a very religious, very religious reason. But, you know, I'm curious what you guys think about why this is happening. We've got a lot of bills coming out through the legislation that is trying to, like, end these archaic Michigan Puritan laws. What's changed?
I think the attitude towards the industry.
People want beer, man. Like, yeah.
I mean, that might be an oversimplification.
No,
but
I mean, that's it. And
Yeah.
look how many breweries we have now.
It's just
Yeah.
not.
I mean,
stopping, it's not
compared
slowing
to
down.
from 2007
Oh,
to
man.
now,
Right.
and the amount of breweries that we have, I mean, there has to be some sort of adapting to the breweries and the brew pubs that we have. That you can't just limit everything to just in the microbrewery or the brew pub. That there's people who just want to buy and buy it off the
demand,
shelves,
yeah.
and there's that demand.
Yes.
And you've got all of the competition that comes into the state, the ballast points, the hop-in frogs, the urban artifacts. I don't even know why I'm throwing that one.
I love Hop and Frog, and I haven't had them since they've come on the show, and it really upsets me now. They're
Actually, I had never heard of them, and now I kind of
I've
want
heard
them.
the
they
name, but
they don't have a beer under 7%.
In?
And they also have Shandy Line, which is like a Shandy Line, and it's all over 7%. So like
Also in.
turbo shandy, like grapefruit shandy,
love
and
a shandy.
Okay, you don't need to sell it that
No, we're
hard.
good.
Okay,
We're
we're
in.
good.
I wish-
I'm in, and
Yeah.
I was in.
I wish the one I wish we could get here is Harpoon.
Oh,
There we go.
so
Harpoon's the shite.
we'll talk offline. But somebody is going to be in Boston next week.
Oh, somebody.
But I'm sure I can bring some stuff back. That somebody's me, obviously. I just spoiled that
Was
one.
it you? I did not get that.
Clearly.
So we have 369 breweries with seating in the state of Michigan. We have 21 that are production only, which brings us to a total of 390. We have another 58 scheduled to open.
Oh, wow.
Where?
Where? Please tell us where.
Where? Well, let's.
I mean,
I'm
like,
sure that's on the
how-
MI beer map.
Craft Beer Wasteland right here.
Wow.
Did
Do you think that went up all by yourself over there?
Yeah, I
no,
did.
20 minutes
Really,
to
I
get
mean,
to
that-
the closest brewery.
Yeah.
And
All
30
right.
minutes if I'm going outside of
59.
Livonia. Good point.
Let's see here. We got one in Howell, Novi, Jackson, Battle Creek, Pawpaw, Coloma,
Okay.
Cedar Springs, Greenville, Rockford, Monroe, Richmond. So
Okay,
Springs.
so-
Aren't there more breweries there? Isn't there another brewery
there's
there?
Cedar Springs Brewery.
I did not know that was a place.
I'm like,
I didn't know.
all these little towns keep getting multiple breweries.
I didn't know
but
those
I can't
breweries-
get
Yeah.
one near me to save my life.
To save your life, huh?
Sorry.
Wait, what city?
I live in Garden City.
Garden City.
Yeah, you've got
It don't look good.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Supernatural.
Now
and
say that's
Canton
you
Brewer.
got
okay, okay.
Supernatural Canton Brewer.
I was
that's
gonna
just
say,
pretty much
so
it.
I mean, Grayling, depending on who you talk to, has 2 breweries.
Grayling has 2.
I was going to
people.
say Grayling has 3, don't they?
Rolling Oak.
Paddle, Hard, and Dead Bear.
Is Dead Bear making their own?
Dead Bear's always
okay,
made their
so
own.
there's
they've
3.
they've definitely.
Is it
Mentioning-
considered Grayling, is it?
Huh?
Rolling Oak isn't considered in Grayling, is
No,
it?
it is. It's right downtown. It's
Oh.
actually their old trains, one of the old train stations.
Yep.
I believe. Yes.
So Dead Bear, which I have been before.
Yes.
Oddly enough, really good meatloaf.
Really? Okay,
Very
so we have
specific.
not been over there just because I love Rolling Oak so much. So, but they don't do food. So.
Yeah, so Dead Bear is pretty much right off the freeway
Yeah,
when you get
yeah.
off, right by the hotels, the 2 hotels that are over
It's
there.
a very rustic atmosphere.
Because have you been to Spike's Keg and Nails?
Honey, that is like that place. That's like the 4th rendition of that building. It's burned down so many times. My family's been up there for
Probably
ages.
cursed.
But yeah, that's
Yeah, so Dead Bear usually has 3 to 4 of their own and a
Okay.
good dozen guests, and usually their guest taps are on point. So mind you, the last time I was there, so we're gonna pretend we're back in 2015, 16 maybe. So they had like Founders KBS, just like on tap, just as if it was anything, just like
it's whatever.
what's going on, Bourbon County?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, hi. You have a lot of really good beer. Now, mind you, good beers in 2016, Rob. And we'll kind of talk about that on the next topic.
You know, I had a old Rasputin on tap in Boston, and I thought I had gone to actual heaven. It's maybe my favorite beer.
That's a sneaky beer that I don't think a lot of people they see it on the shelf and they just
Dude,
stay away.
It's sneaky in other ways too, because I had 3, and then I stood up and was like, well, this is where I live now.
That's how I felt.
That was my first experience with Final Absolution.
And,
That was-
yeah, and Hot Slam.
Terry's Terrace. I had 323s hosting
No.
Quizzo. I sat up. I sat right back down and told
Yeah.
the waiter, I'm like, I need water and whatever songs you want me to play.
Yeah.
We used to go to the East Point pub when Jen lived in East Point, and they would serve us Final Absolution in Boombas. for
No.
$5.
What?
Holy
No.
They used to do.
I'm
There's a
hungover just
pla-
thinking about that.
there's an Irish
You
bar
go
up
in with
in.
$20,
You're a
drink
king.
2 Boombas. That's all you needed
Holy
to not
moly.
remember the night. The first thing you did the next morning was check to make sure you paid your bill.
Yeah.
You gave the waitress $10, and you were good for the entire night.
Floated
my
home.
goodness.
It was awesome.
I've mentioned it a few times up in Bay City. There was a bar, like an Irish bar, that would do pitchers of Final Abso for $9.
I can't even.
Just-
Just no.
There's loss leaders, and then there's that.
That's that.
We've
Good.
nicknamed it the Mind Eraser.
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
It's actually
Yeah.
Nice.
accurate.
I was
All
gonna say I've never
All
had it
right.
before.
More news.
Yeah.
More
Right.
news. More news. We keep going on these tangents.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
the point of the news is to kind of take to the tangents and just come back
Yay.
to the news. So
All right.
we're doing exactly what
And
we're
we're
supposed to do.
back.
Right.
And
So,
we're back.
good old rate beer.
I need to mark that every time we go off on a
yeah.
tangent. And we're back.
And we're back.
You're welcome.
So Rate Beer came out with they published their list of the best beers, breweries, and brew pubs in each state and across the globe for 2019. I kind of went through the list. I would have to say that this list is arguable at worst.
Well, isn't that what all lists are? I mean,
True.
you could be a soccer mom who likes beer, like our writer Ed.
Yes, that is true. Sorry, Ed.
Not
So
sorry.
many sick
Yeah.
birds.
All right.
It wasn't me that said it; it was someone on the internet that said
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
it. He just laughed, as did we.
So I'm pretty much just gonna go through obviously the stuff that's here in Michigan. So as far as they had a list of best beer, new brewer, and best brewer in by sub-region. They just pretty much put it by state. So in Michigan, best beer was Outside Ales' Sweet Potato Souffle Rye Whiskey Barrel Aged Ale. Best new brewer was Barrel and Beam.
Oh.
And best brewer was San Grand Rapids,
Oh.
otherwise known as that brewery in Grand Rapids that I won't mention, because I just don't mention them.
Yeah.
We know who you're talking about.
We don't need to mention.
Yeah, we don't mention that. All right. Best places for beer: best brew pub, Jolly Pumpkin in Ann Arbor. Best restaurant, Clubhouse BFD. Brewer Tap Room, once again, San Grand Rapids. Best bottle shop, Merchants out in Dearborn. And best bar being Hopcat in Detroit.
Were they paid for these?
Now, full disclosure, Rate Beer is owned by ABI.
Well, there you have
So
it.
there is
All
that.
right.
And then they had the best beer brewer and new brewer by country. And this one, it just kind of it went all over the place. This wasn't just Michigan, but best beer in the U.S. was from Cycle Brewing, the Caribbean Rum Barrel Aged Stout with coconut. The best brewery was Hill Farmstead, and the best new brewery was Nightmare Brewing Company.
Nightmare is fantastic.
The last part of the list was the top 100 brewers in the world, which this one kind of took off because it at least in the top 100 there were 4 Michigan breweries that were mentioned in there.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
we posted this
yes.
on our
Yeah.
Facebook
Yep,
today.
we
yeah.
are proud of all of it.
So in the list at number 83 was Jolly Pumpkin, at 52 was Coonan, 23 was Bell's, and number 7 was San Grand fucking Rapids.
You know, I love when Kunin does well because I think Kunin gets a lot of flack.
Yeah.
I think Kunin has definitely had some bad publicity based on beer releases, but in regards to the product themselves, they have, based on what people rate, some of the top rated beers in the country, like in the world for that
I
matter.
don't think I've ever had a bad beer.
Oh, I've
no.
definitely had
This
bad beers
is-
from them.
Well,
This is what, the 4th or 5th time they've been on that top 100?
Probably.
Probably.
This is
Yeah.
not the
Yeah,
first time.
I'm-
I mean, they've got a good track record.
Yeah, I need to look because if you go to the site, they do have the previous years that are on there. So I definitely would want to take a look at that to see. But yeah, as far as I could tell, because even in there was the listing of there was another rating that they did, which was like all these different beers by style, and Kunin popped up in there at least twice.
Oh, wow.
So I saw that in there. I think the most ridiculous part that was in this was there was a list of the top beer raters.
Oh my God.
And it was a person that was in there that apparently had rated over 4,300 beers.
how?
Sounds like Eric Smith, the guy we always brought in for Ashley's Throwdown.
Yes.
I love the guy. He has definitely traveled the world and drank lots of beer.
4 beer sometimes.
What's that?
Sometimes 4 beer.
That's living the dream.
Yeah.
He's kindred.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I
That
mean,
went
really,
for
isn't that really the? Yeah, I mean, and Danny said it. I mean,
Yeah, that's
isn't
the
that
dream.
really the dream? I mean,
That's the one thing, and we kind of talked about the token thing, but God, Ashley's 2 festivals, the Cascale Fest and the Belgian Beer Fest. If you did not get a chance to go to either of them, you missed out. Those were 2 of the best festivals in the state. Period. When you have someone like Zach
Now I'm
over at
sad.
I'm sorry, but when you have someone like Zach from Urban Rest who gets a chance to try cask ales and who makes amazing beer already and can take it to the next step, and you have all these other companies, local, semi-local, coming in and bringing cask ales that you've never had before, and it's just so good, so smooth. And what I loved about it too is that there's no oxygen, so you don't feel that like bloatedness, and you could just. I mean, I've definitely stayed for food after.
well, Ashley's food is amazing.
It is really
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever had it sober, so I can't be a full judge of it.
I
actually
have.
really good.
and
Shout
it's
out to those
delicious.
pesto fries.
Well,
Yes.
considering that I live in the beer wasteland and we called it beer mecca for quite a long time.
But
That
actually,
food was amazing.
So one other quick thing about the reviewers: in order to be in the top 10, you had to review at least 2,630 beers
Wait, what?
As a
In
whole
one
or as
year?
a year?
in the year. This is
Oh my
ratings for the
God.
year. So basically, they even highlighted on here that the person who was 50th had needed to add 4.6 reviews daily, every day of the year. And the person who was at the top with 4,365 had to average 11.9 per day, which 11 is quite an achievement. How's your fucking kidney?
I
Are
was
they
gonna
independently
say.
wealthy?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
kidneys and also your palate at that point. I
and your
mean, if you
wallet?
can blow through.
Yeah,
11
your
beers-
wallet. That's what I was
the,
counting
the,
that.
the,
Yeah.
the guy who is
hobby.
the guy who is last is on this list has 1,687 ratings.
that is.
So
I feel like I have a goal now.
I've done a lot of traveling,
You okay there?
Yeah, just
and when we go to different breweries, we always get samples, and usually we're sharing the flight. So it doesn't. They didn't say they have to drink 11 full beers.
No,
they
that's
just
true.
had to have
But
11
that's true.
tastes of beer.
that's-
Yeah, there's
Still,
zero
just
ways
a
you're drinking
lot.
11 12 ounces.
Yeah.
There's a
no.
lot
Or 11
of ways
11
that
drinks.
you can get around that
Yeah.
without, we're in a group setting and we all have a flight and they're all different.
Of course.
I can have 30 beers in one sitting, and I've only drank 4 or 5
Total.
samples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I basically I almost feel like if you go to Winter Beer Fest and you give me a rating of every single beer that is there, I might just cover you going to all the rest of the beer fest for the year.
Well, yeah. See, the problem is not trying; it's the reviewing.
That I
right?
don't believe.
That's the harder part, isn't it?
I mean, don't look at me. We've
That I
over
don't
the
believe.
last 3 years have decided to never rate a beer again on the show.
It's hard.
Not for it's hard.
It's hard.
But in the same sense, my palate is
Right.
way different than Wendy's, which is way
Exactly.
different than Rob's.
Yeah.
So this beer right here, I'm going to tell you I don't like it. That's not a knock on Cadillac Straight.
It's a fantastic
It's a
beer. You
knock that I
don't
just
like it.
don't
Right.
like.
You
Exactly.
don't like that kind of
we
beer.
I always go back to this, and it's the exact same thing because he's probably one of the most brilliant brewers we've ever had on the show. Travis Fritz from Old Nation. We've had him on the show, and I've sold him to his face. I was sitting where Rob is, he was sitting where I am, and I literally said, "This beer is horrible." And he's like, "Well, it's just not for you then." And I'm like, "You're
Yeah.
right, it's not for me." And it's not a negative to a brewer. Like when we had Kickstand on, and they gave me an IPA, and I had the bitter fucking beer face. But again, it's not for me, and that's okay. Now, if you come at me with an English brown and I don't like it, we probably have some problems here.
Yeah.
But if you're coming at me with an IPA or a lager or a Kolsch or something like that, okay, there's definitely. But I just can't. We can't rate beers anymore. Like it's over and done with. I'm like,
Subjective.
it's too subjective.
It
And
is.
what you
Yeah.
give this beer a 4.5, and then you give another beer a 4.5. I'm like, oh, what's better? Why is it not 4.75 or 4.25? Or or the people who go way too far, and I see like 3.673, and I'm like, how do you get that number?
I mean, those are my kindred spirits
where it
right there
stopped
because
when
that's
you-
where I
Oh,
would do.
no.
Well, it's math and science.
Well, and
but-
I just think
Yes.
not doing that because I have friends who are like, well, I'm not going to try that beer unless it's at least a 4.2 and Untapped. Like, well,
How are you gonna trust everyone
I've been to
else's
beer
palates?
festivals, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm not trying anything less than a 6 point." I'm like, "So you're gonna have 4? Got it?"
We had if you guys follow us, which you can follow us on
Yeah,
Instagram, Better
yeah.
on Draft, Twitter, Better on Draft, Facebook, Better on Draft. If you actually go to our or Twitter, some guy Beer Fest Guides tweeted at us. So we have a list for the upcoming beers. We always throw like 20 beers that you think you should try for the upcoming festival. And he's like, "Oh, we see your 20 and we raise you 859." And it's a list of all the beers and their
mean,
untapped
come on.
ratings. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
yeah, sure.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And with that cool
Okay.
story, we'll be right back with the Better on Draft podcast.
Mama, please don't make me go. Yeah, I don't wanna go so far from home. Yale's got me riding that wave. I got my money where my mind is, and I like it that way. Ha!
And we're back. 208 Better on Draft Podcast. Still with us, Liz and Dani of Girls Pint Out. You can find them on Instagram at DetroitGPO. Girls Pint Out, I believe, .com is their website.
.org.
.org, excuse me. It is.
It's cool. It's cool.
.org.
It is a nonprofit.
It is a nonprofit. Okay.
It is a nonprofit.
It is.
So, back in the day, we used to allow, we played games. Matt would always come up with a game, and I have a game, and we've played this game before. And usually it's when we have more casual guests, not necessarily industry guests, but guests who like to have fun.
I like to have fun.
Now, are you familiar with the website Cameo?
No.
Now, what Cameo is,
Oh,
Cameo
man.
is a website where you can pay someone who will do a video, a video for you. So if you have someone who's a
Be a
friend,
disaster.
Oh,
All right.
not a good move.
a friend of, say, Bam Margera.
Oh, no.
You guys know Bam Margera from the Jackass
I
as
know
well
of
as the
him.
Bam Margera show or whatever.
And
Viva la
Rehab.
Bam. There you go.
Viva la Bam.
And
All right.
the occasional sense of rehab. Yeah.
You can get a personalized video from him by
Oh,
paying
I
him
do
money.
Know this.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
So Bam Margera costs you $65
That is a steal.
to get a personalized video from Bam, and he'll say happy birthday or Merry Christmas or whatever you want. He's basically what's the common word for it? Whore for money.
Oh,
Panderer.
Is that how that works?
Why have my friends not done this for me with other people?
Thank you. I was just
Thank
thinking
you.
I
Do
would
they
love
not love me?
I
What's
would
going
love a
on?
birthday message from Mariska Hargitay,
Now,
for example.
now, for instance, Jonathan Goldsmith. You may know him as the most interesting man.
Yes.
How much do you think, this is just a fun round, how much do you think it would cost for him? Now, this is not prices, right? You can go over. It's the closest that wins. Now, mind you, I believe the max price for this website is $500.
Oh.
So you have anywhere from $1 to $500.
I thought
To have the
there were
most
others.
interesting man in the world.
The most interesting man in the world
I feel like-
send you a personalized video.
Yeah. I feel like he's a high dollar.
I was saying, and I thought there were other people that were on that site that are more than that.
Well, we no, not 500. 500 is the most. I will give you a major name. Brett Favre is 400.
Favre?
Favre.
It's Favre.
Should we talk
French.
about
All
Wa?
right.
Patrick Wa?
Patrick Roy.
Quoi?
I mean, I'll pay $200 to watch his ass get beat.
Yes! High five.
We've already done that both twice in score
Yes.
and twice on the ice.
Yes.
Claw the Mew will pay double.
So, Jonathan Goldman, how
Okay.
much do you think it's going to cost? We will start with Dani and work
Okay.
our way around.
$250.
All right, Liz.
I'm going to say 145. That feels right in my
Rob?
Very
there.
specific.
Danny took my 250.
That's
I
right.
know,
I did.
right?
Damn it.
You're welcome.
Damn it.
Price is right, baby.
Yeah, I know, but that's just no point because then she's gonna go 252.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go 300.
300.
Okay.
And Wendy.
I'm going to say 185.
Oh.
On the dot, 250.
What's up?
So that is how this game is going to go. We're going to
Love this game.
We're going to go over and we're going to kind of go spot by spot just so you guys get a chance to be the last pick or the first pick.
All right.
So we are going to again start with Dani.
Yeah.
And we are going to go with Corey Feldman.
He who wears his sunglasses in the nighttime.
No, you're
that's
thinking
the
Corey
Corey
Hart.
Hart.
God's sake! Because that was hilarious.
Corey Feldman
was more
he is
hilarious.
Mouth from the Goonies, the Lost Boys.
Are you
Yes.
sure that's not the same guy?
I am
It's
sure.
not the same guy.
Okay.
a very high up there friend of Michael Jackson who will
Oh, that one.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know why Michael Jackson
Well,
took that.
we went there. So there's
Everybody
that.
liked the Corey.
Okay.
Everybody
Okay.
liked the Corey.
Everybody liked
And
the Corys.
It's Corey Feldman, yes?
Yes,
Corey
not,
Feldman.
not Corey
Not
Haim.
Corey Haim.
Which one is that?
Oh my
Corey
goodness
Haim's the other
gracious.
guy from Lost Boys.
Oh my god.
Jesus God, there's so
They were
many
the
from,
Corys.
from
Okay.
Corey to
This
Corey.
is almost painful. All right.
I got it. I got it.
Okay. You got.
I got
Are you
it.
sure?
I'm thinking.
He's the one that. Oh, my mic went out again.
Womp womp.
Wah, wah.
Man.
It's my guess.
He's the one that made Chunk do the truffle shuffle.
Oh, I love that kid. 250. Okay, Corey Feldman.
Not chunk.
Not chunk.
No, nobody likes chunk.
Everybody
Okay,
loves
everybody
chunk.
likes chunk. I'm sorry. I have feelings about the Goonies. Oh, okay.
All right. I
All
think
right.
you've delayed long enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
I'm trying to gather my thoughts, and my thoughts are 200.
All right.
$1.50.
All right.
Fair enough.
I feel like that's still too high. I'm gonna go 85.
It is a lot.
Wendy is upset that Rob would think.
Wendy's gonna be like $4.95.
It's 2019, not 1989.
Exactly. No, I'm upset because that's what I was going to say. So I'm going to go
Oh.
86.
Oh,
Well, Danny is really good at this game because it's $202.
I am good at this game.
What is it? Sales tax? What the fuck? 202.
Was it an auction and somebody had to bid
Yeah,
that $2?
No
to
auction.
win?
This
Yeah.
that
Is
is
this
that
like
is
an eBay
literally
situation or what?
that is literally the number.
Bizarre.
Literally.
Literally, yes. I've used the word properly here.
$2.
Literally
Yeah.
202. It is not a figurative 202.
I feel flush with power at the moment.
Well, we are going to start
We're
with Liz this time.
All right.
Liz, you're next up. Political figures.
Ooh,
Anthony Scaramucci, the Mooch.
Scaramouche.
He was in the White House for roughly 11 days.
Let's do the
He's
fandango.
the actual person that character from Futurama is. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
The guy from the 80s who has
Eh?
bonitis.
Yes.
There's somebody
It's
out
been
there
a while
who
since I've seen it,
knows.
but
There we
I
are.
remember it. I can't picture it, but I do like slightly remember
It's
that
like
character.
a Wall Street sort of character.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's him.
The Mooch.
The Mooch.
Anyway.
How much does it cost for you to get a video of the Mooch?
What's the minimum?
The minimum I think is probably like somewhere around the $20 to $25 range.
You know what? I'm gonna stick with my $1.50. I'm gonna go 150.
150. Rob,
I'm still staying low. I'm gonna go 65.
65. Wendy,
49.
49.
Oh, 2 for 50.
Wait, 20, not 250.
It's a good
I've got another story for you later on. I gotta tell you.
Danny.
All right.
My number, what was your number?
49.
49. 57.
57. Rob, what were you?
65.
And Liz?
$1.50, baby.
$35 off is going to be Rob at $100. Anthony Scaramucci.
$100.
For that douche?
Yeah, there.
Excuse me. I've had some beer.
That beer wasn't required for
All
that.
No, it
right.
was not.
No, it was not.
that
He's
came from
actually
my heart.
coming to town here in just a little bit.
Nobody cares.
Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. Rob, you are first.
Oh man, this is a good one.
Big money, big money.
Let's see. Does this include him being in a dark theater?
Probably not.
Okay,
Not.
so I also have a supplemental question. Is it Pee Wee Herman version, or is it
Buffy the Vampire
Or
Slayer version.
Hunger Games.
or
Wait, was Paul Rubens in the Hunger Games?
Did I hallucinate that?
No, I think you might have hallucinated that.
It looks like he just is himself.
Okay, just as some
He isn't a button down.
Just as himself. I am going to say. I'm going to take yours, say 150.
I got to go back and find it. I'm pretty sure I have it. But continue. 150 for Rob. Wendy.
I'm going to say 125.
125 for Wendy.
300.
300 for Danny.
All right, I'm gonna prices right this shit.
Remember,
$1.
you can go over, so it's okay to go over.
No. Prices right this shit.
All right.
$1, baby.
$1. I'm sorry,
I
Rob.
say 150.
150.
125.
125.
300.
300. $50 off. Paul Rubin. 250.
250.
Danny with point number 2.
That would be 3.
You didn't get the free one. That was
That was a
practice.
free one.
That was definitely practice for sure. We did. All right. Continuing, we have Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore.
Whatever
Nobody
it is.
cares. Nobody cares.
It's clear.
Yeah, you got me on that one.
Is that it?
Wendy, you're gonna go first.
Wasn't even ready.
Oh,
The
The situation. Do a little fist pumping.
Situation.
Yeah.
Little.
How many years out are we on that? They got a new one
Not
coming
enough.
out, though.
No. Never
Isn't
enough.
he trying to
Not
like?
even.
They have a
nearly.
new one coming out right now.
What's it?
I've seen all kinds of
GTL?
ads for it. Oh, dear God, 165.
Jaeger bombs. Jaeger bombs.
Yeah, Jaeger bombs. I mean, it's not that specific guy, but it's close enough.
That's not him.
I would
No,
think
that was a YouTube video.
I've
I
literally
would
never
think
seen the
that
show.
DJ Pauly D or whatever.
Polly,
they
I was about to
call
say
him with.
Polly Shore.
Can we put on Pauly Shore?
No.
Polly Shore's in there
No.
too.
$1,000. Okay, so for Mike, the situation, whatever is.
Yep,
name
the
is
situation.
The sitch.
$250. Whatever hair gel costs, I don't know.
Well, you know they tax tanning now.
Wendy, what did you say?
165.
Okay, 250. Liz,
100. I'm not happy about even that. But
Rob.
I'm gonna say 100.
$375.
Ooh, high dollar.
you guys are getting your asses kicked by Dani over here.
This is awful that I know. what people are worth.
$300 is how much the situation will
Look,
I
cost.
thought about getting
Really?
closer to 300, and I just said, no, it's the situation. His
whiny.
dad's gonna ask for something more.
But I mean, if you got money to just gym tan laundry, then I guess.
How do
Sure.
you get the money?
I don't know.
Do you work?
All right.
At least it
Well,
probably
we'll
was
go
doing
through
DJ
one
and
more
stuff.
round,
All right,
four
all right,
more.
all right,
more,
let's go.
one
Come
more.
on.
See if anyone can catch up.
Let's do this.
Dani, you are first.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The innovator of the thong song, Cisco.
Oh man.
With the bleached blonde hair or without the bleached?
He's got bleach blonde hair in this photo.
That is worth a lot of money. So, what's it worth to me? It's worth $200.
$200.
Yeah.
Liz,
$150, baby.
$150. Rob,
300.
300. Okay.
Wow. Somebody really likes the thong song.
I don't.
That dress was so scandalous.
I'm just looking for just like obnoxiousness of the person.
Wendy,
Oh, my timetable is way off, so I have no idea if people actually are
They
paying
do.
attention anymore.
I mean, that's
I'm
why
gonna
they're on
go-
this site for a
I'm
reason.
Gonna go, I'm gonna go 175.
Should have went the other way. 150.
Hey!
The correct answer was 100, but
All right.
150 is still the closest.
So it's only worth $100.
You could get a personalized message from Cisco for only $100. That is correct.
Wow.
$100.
All right.
Are any of the puppets from the Blackstreet video on there?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I just want to ask why Pizza
Really
Toots
like it.
tastes like pineapple.
No?
It's Hawaiian pizza toots. It's an abomination.
I think it's funny, but
It's
it
a little
tastes
weird.
like pineapple to me.
Going back to the, that's
And he's
quite
like,
all right.
and we're back.
I'm kind of just scrolling through trying to pick out the ones that I like.
All right, so Johnny Knoxville.
Ooh.
Let's. I can see if he's on here. Hold
What
on.
about Stephen King?
Which one?
That would be amazing.
The one you love or the one you hate?
Dad, if you're still listening,
I love all of Stephen King.
attention.
I don't know if Stephen King is going to be on there.
Oh no.
I mean, this is all just basically.
No Knoxville, no Johnny Stephen King. So I'm gonna have
Alright.
to.
It's for the best.
so I'm gonna guess Jason Momoa's not on there.
So much.
Saucy.
Sorry, because
Oh, what about Chris Hemsworth? Is he on
I'm
there?
pretty sure if my friends
I'm-
loved me,
okay.
they
You
would
know
have
what?
made that
Everyone's.
friend.
I'm sure
Let's-
anybody who has a contract for movies making at least $10 million a year is not going to be doing little $50 to $300.
Let's get a female on here.
Okay.
Okay.
Mariska Hargitay.
Who are we starting with?
Oh,
Liz.
Liz.
Yes.
Tommy Lauren.
Ooh.
Oh, does that count?
Fox News and Blaze TV personnel.
You didn't say lizard person.
What is this, V?
I would want her to pay me. I would want her to pay me to
alright.
leave me a voicemail.
Exactly.
Tommy Lauren.
It's Tommy then?
$75.
yeah.
I can't.
75.
I can't not read it. Tommy.
My
but-
dad just responded that Stephen King is $750.
Oh, he saw it than I did. I didn't see it on here.
All
better
right,
start
man,
saving.
Dad's stepping up over there. But I'm gonna say it's $75 for the.
For Tommy Lauren.
I'd
That.
rather get a plane ticket to anywhere.
Rob.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Too much, whatever it is.
Yeah, just too much.
Price is right, it baby.
For. I'm just gonna go 250.
Oh, God.
Wendy.
He's laughing because he already knows, and he's like,
I
yeah,
know all
you're
the
off,
answers.
baby.
Did we
You're
already
off.
say- Did we already say $1?
Oh, we did not say $1.
We did not price this right. That shit.
I would do that then. $1. That's probably more than I would pay.
That's way more.
She
Danny.
should probably pay you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said 75.
And you said two something?
I said 250.
$100.
Should have tried to Price is Right Liz over there because it's $80.
Oh!
80.
So you're at 2 points. Rob's at 1.
She ain't worth
Alright.
shit.
Danny's at 3. Wendy with
I'm
the
failing
goose egg.
today.
Goose egg over there. We still love you.
All right.
We do.
So I've got a good one over here because he's
Morissette.
on the site, and I feel like we're all in the proper age to know who he is.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry, I'm trying to think of what was his name? Never mind. I can't think of his name. So we're just gonna skip him. Here we go. You ready?
Oh, okay, you got
No,
this
I
now?
got his name.
All right.
So his real name is Michael Ray Bauer, but you may know him as Donkey Lips from the TV show Salute Your Shorts.
I do know him as Donkey Lips. He has a real name.
Michael Ray Bauer is his real name. How much would you pay Donkey Lips? I think we're at Rob over here.
85.
That seems fair.
100.
You're still competing against him.
Look, there's like 7 people who know who Donkey Lips is, and half of them are in this room right now.
I don't know who that is.
100? Okay.
Oh, no.
I mean,
For
the show,
Donkey Lips?
for the amount of replay value, that show only had 2 seasons.
Isn't
I
that
have no
wild?
idea.
It was only
I've
2
never even
seasons.
seen
It
that
felt like
show.
it went forever.
I think I'd rather have Budnick give
Budnick,
me a birthday message. But, okay. Or
Zeke the plumber,
Or Ugg.
Ugg.
I did like Ugg.
Again.
And that's all of the names I know, and I'm out. Holy shit.
Not.
I was
not
gonna say
into that
you're
not
pulling
into
a
that
lot
Nickelodeon.
out of your
They're
bat.
speaking
your
a whole
head there.
nother
I had like a
language.
powder moment.
All right, so Rob, you
Okay.
said 45?
85.
85.
You said
100.
150.
75.
Wasn't he also
75,
in Varsity
yeah, I'm gonna-
Blues?
No, you're thinking Ethan Suplee,
Sure.
I believe. The answer is going to be Liz again.
Yes!
God dang it.
All right, so this last one is going to be
All right.
basically between Danny and Liz. Everyone's going to be able to try to get in,
Clear the table.
Clear the table.
but
Going down. Pour me a
know,
beer.
ask
Oh,
me
I have
here.
a beer.
There's more beer.
Yeah, we got a couple.
There's a couple that's
Actually,
open.
that Slushy's got
All
my
right.
name on it right there.
all
Hit
right.
me.
All right.
Let's go. You know what? Let's go sports.
That's not,
think-
Oh, see,
not
that's
fair.
fantastic. All right, let's
Not
do
at
this.
all
All
fair.
right.
See, I'm so glad I'm out now.
I don't do athletics.
I do.
You don't
so
do athletics?
Let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this.
How?
Go ahead.
Let's go musicians.
Musician.
Musicians, everyone. Music makes the
okay,
people
okay.
come together.
All right.
I think that's what J Lo said once.
Maybe.
Music makes the
Sounds like-
bourgeoisie sound a rebel.
Oh my god.
Sure.
I'm a little
I
impressed
haven't
right
heard
now.
that in a long
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Hit me.
Let's do it.
Mark McGrath,
Oh, good lord.
lead singer of Sugar
Hey,
Ray.
baby. Yeah.
How much does Mark McGrath cost? Wendy.
193.
Danny.
Oh, you're going to me? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, that's the.
I forgot how circles work.
We've been doing the exact same thing for the last 7 of them.
Did forget that. Mark McGrath did things to me in my mind. Good things.
Was there a halo hanging on
With
the
his
corner
music.
of your?
I've heard
For
he's a
post
really
bag.
awesome guy
bag.
in
Yeah.
person.
A really awesome what?
I've heard he's a really awesome guy in person.
He's a really great MC.
He seems
Yes.
wonderful, right? He seems like a nice guy.
He does. He
his
does do a
kids are
very
real
good
cute.
program.
All right, Mark McGrath gets 300 from me.
250.
You're not impressed.
I mean, hey, he makes money on Sirius doing
He
whatever the
does.
heck
Yeah,
he
he's
does.
got his own channel or something now, doesn't he?
He,
has a
he does
show on
the
the
weekend
90s.
show on
Yeah.
on the 90s, yeah. I'm going to say 125.
Uh-oh.
125. Wendy, what did you say?
193.
So specific.
There we go.
I like it.
Well, 202 for Corey
I know,
Feldman.
right?
Come
That's
on.
so weird. Yeah.
So 125,
193.
193,
300.
300.
250.
Well, the winner
No.
is
It's
going to
me.
be Liz. But Rob did win that one. The correct answer, 125.
Oh.
Between you two, you were the closest
Yay.
at 125. That is Cameo.com, where you can get great artists like Randy Jackson from American Idol.
Oh my God.
That's a no for me, dog. Happy birthday. Just walk away.
Ryan Cabrera.
Ryan
Really?
Cabrera.
Who is that?
Isn't
When you started saying
Isn't he
Ryan,
hot
I
right
thought
now?
it was going to be Seacrest,
I
not
did too.
Cabrera.
Who's Cabrera?
Mickey
isn't he like hot right
Avalon.
now, though?
Oh, Mickey Avalon. I saw
Okay,
him a
for
few
all
years
the-
ago.
70 plus.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he's in Ann Arbor tonight
He
with
said his own name 19
Simon
times.
Rex.
Oh,
Little Dirt Nasty
so
and Mickey Avalon.
I paid
my
money for it.
You got a gold chain over there.
It's
Oh.
awful. I got something over there.
What? You can get Ric Flair in there too.
Yeah, Ric Flair's I think $400. Woo!
Yeah.
Ooh, that's amazing.
All right, Detroit GPO. Where can they find you on the socials?
On the Facebook, it's Detroit Girls Pint Out. The Instagram is Detroit GPO. We don't do the Twitter because we don't have time. And,
Nobody has time for that.
Nobody has time for that. And on March 18th, we will be at Brewery Faison in the beautiful Island View neighborhood near Belle Isle. Please come 6:30 to 9 o'clock for our Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
What is Faison in English? Ooh. You should.
Can't you just tell us?
You ready?
do
You
you
ready?
know? Go.
It's pheasant.
Oh, of course it is. That's their logo. Man, I'm an a-hole. You know what? It means pheasant.
That's right. That's going to do it for us. Better on Draft. Go to our sponsors, North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan, south of Baseline Road over on North Center, as well as Zatuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills, just south of M59 on Rochester Road. Go say hi to Jack, but don't stay too long because he will keep you very long. That's going to do it. Better on Draft Facebook, Better on Draft Instagram, Better on Draft Twitter, Bod Podcast on Untapped to find out everything we drank. Liz and Danny, thank you so much for coming to the show. Thank you, everyone who have been in the chat, including the one and only Matt Bush, Adam, Mark, Jennifer, Danielle, Sasha, Esteban, Holly. Plenty of people in the chat. We appreciate you all joining us. You can join us each and every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Peace.